Our culture is at war with reality. If it weren't so, you wouldn't be able to make entire documentaries asking basic questions like, what is a woman?
What is a woman?
Why do you ask that question?
Chesterton, as usual, saw this day coming. Fires will be kindled to testify that 2 and 2 make 4. Swords will be drawn to prove that leaves are green in the summer. And so it's only natural that in this day and age, people would also ask questions like, what is a nation? And asking it they are. This is interesting to me. A few years ago, only nerdy missiologists were debating this. I'm looking at you, Darren. After all, nations are the things that Jesus told us to make disciples of. It makes sense that missiologists would talk about it, but now it's not just a question limited to the dark, obscure corners of the internet. It's a question that's now in the mainstream political dialogue too. Even that weird hillbilly brought it up. So how do we answer the question? Option 1, the propositional nation. Maybe you've heard the claim before that America is the first nation built on a creed. Now I know what you're thinking. Not that creed.
We're the arms wide open.
Or this one.
Quabity ashuance.
Or this one. This is the idea that America is just that, an idea.
America's an idea. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world.
This has become something of an American shibboleth. You have to confess it, or else you're not in. And it sounds great. The problem is that it just doesn't make sense when you think about the words. Like 3 out of 5 Beatles songs on average. Ideas alone can't declare independence, write constitutions, expand their territory, put men on the moon, or eat billions of Big Macs. People do those things with ideas, which leads us to option 2, people groups. See, in mission circles, we've long defined an ethnos, the New Testament word translated nation, as an ethno-linguistic people group. What is a people group? It's a combination of ethnicity, language, culture, heritage, geography, and conscious self-identification as a people. It's fuzzy, but it's not totally nebulous. It's a bit like Justice Stewart's famous test for obscenity. I know it when I see it. In the 20th century, we saw these ideas go haywire, though. People used phrases like blood and soil to justify horrendous evil. And so instead, now we've shifted to individualism. The problem is that collectivism of some kind is an inescapable concept. It's not whether you'll belong to a group, but which group you'll belong to. And so for all the individualist talk in recent generations about being yourself and looking within and you do you, we've replaced real heritage with other identities, like left-handed vegan bowlers of Scandinavian descent, or gluten-sensitive jazz enthusiasts with a preference for minor chords, or my personal favorite, non-binary bicycling enthusiasts who oppose pumpkin spice. You know, not that there's anything wrong with that. But why all the confusion? Why is defining a nation like nailing Jell-O to a wall these days, and anyone that manages to make it stick is a fascist? I have a hunch, and it goes back to what we said at the beginning. Now, Jesus commands us to disciple the nations. And how? By preaching the gospel to them, baptizing those who believe, planting churches, and teaching them to obey everything Christ commanded. This is the task that Satan so desperately wants to stop in the present age, but can't. But he can put up speed bumps, like bad thinking. Nations, the way the Bible describes them in heaven, peoples, languages, tribes, all worshiping Jesus, those types of nations can be preached to, converted, baptized, and transformed. But ideas can't be discipled. They do the discipling. Just like we've been preaching around the world the gospel of whatever this is. If you try to disciple abstract propositions instead of real nations with real people and real heritage, those ideas just absorb all the other ideas you throw at them, like that big purple cloud monster in the MCU. The result is syncretism. You know, like when you first drop Christianity into an animistic culture and the local witch doctor goes from being a normal pagan shaman to a shaman with Bible verses and a private jet. Thanks for watching. We produce this show not only to model a biblical worldview, but to move you out into the world. Be a part of God's mission. Find your role in advancing the gospel at abwe.org.